Welcome to Bipolar She. I'm your host, Janine Noel. Bipolar She is a storytelling podcast about living with mental illness. The content of the show may include stories of suicidal ideation and suicide. At the show's website, bipolarshe.com, I've listed ways to find support. If you ever need immediate help, please dial 988, a suicide and crisis lifeline. I believe in the healing power of writing and speaking about our darkest of days in raw detail. So let's go. Today I sit down with Amy Vincze, an emotional freedom technique or EFT practitioner. EFT is also referred to as tapping and is a therapeutic method to help manage emotions, thoughts, stress, anxiety, weight loss, depression, PTSD, phobias, pain, and other physical symptoms. The list goes on and on. After surviving a crisis moment 6 years ago, Amy was determined to take tapping to the next level, guiding clients to experience the healing effects of how discovering the root cause of various emotions stored in your body leads to the most powerful healing results. I've been working with Amy for about 6 months, and I'm happy to share her work with you today. Hi, Amy. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you here.
Yeah, it's nice to be here.
All right, so let's jump into it. I always start with a bit of a crisis moment and was curious if you wanted to share anything.
Yeah, I definitely had a crisis moment. It was about 6 years ago now. And, well, I'm going to go back a little bit more to kind of give you and your listeners some context. Because growing up, my dad left us when I was really young. I was like 4 or 5, and he was an alcoholic and went out of state in order to get sober. And he was gone for years. And after that, there certainly wasn't a lot of emotional support from my mom. I think she was overwhelmed with being a mom. And I think there was resentment from my sister. At least that's how I interpreted it. And so there was a lot of discord between me and my sister, and I was always wanting her love and affection. Like I transferred all of what I thought I needed from my parents onto my sister, and she was unable to give it to me. I turned myself inside out to try and make her happy. So if we fast forward that up until about 6 years ago, I was an extreme people pleaser and always trying to succeed. Like if I failed at anything, then it was a really tragic, and it felt almost life-threatening inside my body for something like that to happen. So I kind of reached a crisis moment 6 years ago when I was really failing at my job at the time. And I felt like I was failing with my body. I felt like I was failing in my marriage. Every single day I was experiencing some kind of a panic attack. And I wasn't sleeping, and went through a period where I was having huge fears about things like going for walks and being attacked by a mountain lion. I was having huge fears about my boss coming in and yelling at me or discovering what a horrible job I had been doing. And I would just lay awake at night worrying and obsessing really about all of the ways that I was failing. And I just felt like my whole life was breaking down around me.
And you were married and had a 4-year-old?
My daughter was 4, which, may or may not be a coincidence that was about the time my dad left. So that might have triggered something in me too, because I think that was a big part of the source of my anxiety. A part of me might have recognized that and saw myself in her. It just all came to a head during the time.
Yeah, and you mentioned it just felt like a loss of self.
Yeah. Everything I thought I was a successful person in a lot of ways. I just realized I had no idea who I was because I was always trying to please somebody else rather than myself. And so it really was kind of a breaking down of my identity And it's something that absolutely needed to happen in order for me to kind of gain some health and some balance on an emotional level. Only looking back can I see now how necessary it was for me to move forward in a really positive way.
How did you start to put yourself back together?
Yeah, I was a certified tapping coach at the time. And I had been working with my own coach with limited success. I was just feeling so desperate to feel better that I started tapping on myself every single day.
So let's pause here quickly and explain what tapping is and a little bit about EFT.
Yeah, I would love to. Tapping is a really great combination of energy, somatic, and cognitive therapies. So it's really similar to acupuncture, but instead of using needles on your energy meridians, you're using the percussion of tapping. In acupuncture or Chinese medicine, the idea is that whenever you have a fear or a pain or a limiting belief, there is a block in your energy system. And they use needles. And then in the case of EFT, we use tapping in order to dissipate that block and allow your energy to flow freely again. When your energy is in a free flowing state, that is when you are in a state of health and thriving. So, but we also incorporate the cognitive aspect in that you are talking about whatever it is you want to release while you're doing the tapping. It's so focused and it's so effective doing it this way. You can release even the largest fears or phobias or the biggest pains or health issues. You can release them in a very short period of time. But it was really through that crisis moment that I understood so deeply that in order to release something, we need to get to the core of the issue. And tapping on anything else is helpful, but it really is more like putting a Band-Aid on a problem instead of healing it at the source. That's when I realized, having gone through that moment, that I needed to do this for a career. It was so transformational for me. I was tapping for maybe 2 to 3 weeks, half an hour a day after that crisis moment. And I emerged from that so transformed and so much more self-aware about everything that was happening in my life and why everything was happening in my life. And at that time, I suddenly had the courage and the wherewithal to start to do it differently instead of staying in my comfort zone. I was willing at that point to go outside of my comfort zone and start creating a different life for myself, which I never was before. I was always too afraid. But it was that focused tapping that allowed me to do that in such a short period of time.
It's so interesting because you think of tapping, maybe you think of traditional Chinese medicine, and you think it's this kind of far out thing. What is it exactly? But then working with you, you really talk about going to that core root issue and talking through that, which is really not that different from psychodynamic therapy. It is still going back in time to traumas.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It all stems from traumas. Yeah. And the coping mechanisms that we have developed in order to just survive.
Coming out of many, many years of traditional psychiatry and eclectic forms of therapy, Jungian therapy, just about everything, and probably seeing someone once a week my entire adult life. I was curious about EFT, but I didn't really know what to expect. And what I learned so quickly about it was like I was being given permission to talk my truth. It was just such a connection because it's really neat. In my experience, you sit down and Amy listens to you talk through the worries of the day, anything. And then sometimes some traumas today and some in the past. But as she's doing this, you're creating a new language for your client or your patient, however you want to refer to us. And so let's say we were tapping about some frustration, And you just put into words, it's just not fair. It's just not fair. And I'm like, well, I would never say that. Yeah, I can't say that. That's embarrassing to say that. But now that my tapping coach has said it's not fair, and I go, oh, right, I'm allowed to feel that. It becomes really powerful. It's just an act of witnessing. You take us in, and from that day, we move forward, and you give us language while we tap. It's really unlike anything that I've experienced before. I was having Crohn symptoms, and then just working through tapping sessions for a couple of them with you, I just felt this distance from pain. And I went, this is so strange. Like, I'm not used to this. But wow, what's going on here? Maybe you can talk about how that happens.
Well, I think that emotional trauma lives in our body until we have a chance to honor it and acknowledge it enough to release it. Those emotions need to have their day in court, and they need to be honored deeply and given their full voice before we can actually release them from their body. And when we do that enough, it kind of just opens us up to release the pain and release whatever is holding us back, whatever fears. If we acknowledge that they're there for a reason, if we acknowledge that all the emotions underneath the trauma that we haven't been allowed to really feel because of our family dynamics or whatever was happening in the background, if we honor those enough, then they can be released from our bodies, and then we can move past them, having done that work. The hard part is you have to kind of lean into your emotions, which most people aren't familiar with how to even do that. We're not taught how to do that. We're not encouraged to do that. Not in our country, at least. So we don't have a lot of the emotional intelligence to recognize what our emotions are, to really sink into them and lean into the feelings and allow them to be. Actually feel them. When you actually feel your emotions, they will dissipate in a really short period of time. But most adults have been pushing them away and focusing on performing the way that they should as an adult, rather than feeling their feelings and acknowledging them in a way that would allow them to release from their bodies. So they just stack up over years. And it's just a process that leads to coping. People cope in different ways. They could be paralyzed by getting triggered or an overwhelming stack of emotions. They could overperform. They could work out excessively. They could have physical issues. But there really is an emotional source to all of it that can be traced back and dealt with EFT very fast and effectively. Yeah.
So technically, it's only been around 30 years in this format. It's been hugely powerful. This is very measured, and you get results kind of in real time.
Yeah, very quickly. Most people don't consider that doctors agree that most illnesses and pains have a big element of stress attached to it. And when we can release and surrender that source of the stress, whatever it is, that doesn't mean quitting your job. What it means is kind of taking away the fears and limiting beliefs that are causing you the stress about your job. And so taking away that element can really free your body up to heal itself. When we are in a state of stress, otherwise known as being in a fight or flight mode, we're releasing massive amounts of cortisol into our system. So when people are in a state of fight or flight for prolonged periods of time or consistently over time, and all of those systems in our body are shutting down to accommodate the fight or flight symptoms, then disease starts to happen. Pain starts to happen. And it really is important to deal with the stress aspect of things on an emotional level, as well as, other modalities such as working out and eating right. Those things are important as well. But when you incorporate the emotional element in there also, then you are going to be achieving health at a much faster rate.
And I think that's very hard for people to do, to acknowledge emotions, are connected, like our bodies do respond to it.
Yeah.
I've talked about that in this podcast in a way, like thinking about illness and how it develops and how there are definitely social pressures. There is dysfunction in families. Illness doesn't just spontaneously combust in your body. There are reasons.
Yeah.
I feel like this work really does dig into that. Or sometimes I don't know what you're doing. Sometimes I don't know what you're quite up to with having me say a few things. But I know you know where you're going.
I do. Most of the time I do, at least. What I know is that whatever I do and say in a session with any of my clients, none of it is going to hurt. Tapping, none of it is wrong. Like you can't get tapping wrong. You can only improve the way that you feel. Even if you're tapping and not saying anything, you're still going to start lowering cortisol levels in your body 43% faster than if you had done nothing at all. So you're going to start calming down, you're going to start getting more grounded, and you're going to start feeling better immediately. Just by tapping, you don't have to say anything. But when you incorporate that element of acknowledging and honoring your feelings, then things move a lot faster. And you can heal at the source from things that have plagued you for a long time and hopefully move forward in a new way instead of repeating old patterns that have kept you sad or depressed or anxious.
Right. So it's interesting when you either meet with Amy or she does have an app, which is another way to go, but you refer to it as a tapping script.
Mm-hmm.
There's this back and forth script that you say while you're tapping on points. So maybe we could just talk about what these, do you call them meridian points?
Yes. So there are 14 energy meridians and they're symmetrical. So you have a set on this side and a set on the right side of your body and the side on the left side. And so we are and there are hundreds of places that you could tap on your body, but we're just tapping on different spots that are easy to reach and making sure to tap on all 14 energy meridians.
Oh, okay. So 7 on each side. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah. Well, it's like that. We're tapping on all of the energy meridians and doing it on both sides of our body.
Right.
So like remember on the wrist spot, there's 3 of them.
Oh,
so that's
okay.
why we turn our wrists while we're tapping on the wrists.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we should do a little sample tapping.
We should. What do you think we should tap on?
I think chronic pain, because that was the first time I went, holy cow, this is really powerful. And so if someone came to you and said, I have chronic back pain, which I know you suffered from for many years.
Yes, I did. Yeah. We could tap on chronic pain, but different pain has different sources. So for instance, lower back pain could have a source with financial insecurity, financial scarcity. And so there's a feeling of vulnerability in your life. Then you can manifest lower back pain. And if it's on the right or the left side, then there's a little bit of a different focus in the way that we would tap on it.
Oh, okay.
Same thing with knee pain or shoulder pain. We could tap on the fear of pain in general because there's a lot of similarities about fearing how long it's going to go on. Like, when is the pain going to end? Is it going to get worse? And just feeling like you want to escape because the pain is so bad, feeling like you want to escape your body.
I think it would be good to just be like, okay, so we begin by tapping on we call our karate chop points.
Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Should I describe it for your listeners?
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. So the karate chop point is it's down on the fleshy part, the side of your hand, just down from your pinky finger. And so I like to tap on both sides of my body. So I tap those two spots together. That's called your karate chop point. And while we're doing this point, we are saying something called an even though statement. Something like, even though I am so afraid of this pain,
even though I am so afraid of this pain,
I love and honor all parts of who I am anyway.
I love and honor all parts of who I am anyway.
Even though I have this intense pain and I'm so scared it's never going to end.
Even though I have this intense pain and I'm so scared it's never going to end.
I can hardly handle it.
I can hardly handle it.
And I love and honor myself anyway.
And I love and honor myself anyway.
And I want to be open and willing to let it go.
And I want to be open and willing to let it go.
Even though I have this intense pain.
Even though I have this intense pain.
And I'm not sure how much longer I can take this.
And I'm not sure how much longer I can take this.
I'm at my wit's end.
I'm at my wit's end.
And I'm so scared it's not going to stop.
And I'm so scared it's not going to stop.
I love and honor myself and my feelings.
I love and honor myself and my feelings.
And I honor my courage in tackling this issue.
And I honor my courage in tackling this issue.
So we say those 3 even though statements. And I thank you for repeating after so we can, your listeners can understand how to do it properly. And now we're going to go to the other points on our body, and we're going to say something called repeater phrases. So we're going to go to our eyebrow point, which is at the beginning of our eyebrow, closest to our nose. On either side, you're going to tap there with a couple of fingers, hard enough so that you feel it, not so hard you're giving yourself a headache. And you can say something like, this intense pain.
This intense pain.
And we're going to move to the side of your eye, right at your temples. Say, I'm so scared that it's never going to stop.
I'm so scared that it's never going to stop.
Go to under your eye, right on top of your cheekbones. It feels like it's been going on forever already.
It feels like it's been going on forever already.
And tap underneath your nose. And say, and I'm so afraid that it's going to get worse.
And I'm so afraid that it's going to get worse.
I'm tapping on your chin now. I can't focus on anything else with this pain.
I can't focus on anything else with this pain.
On your collarbone. If you find your collarbone point, you're going to go down about 1 inch. There's a little valley in between your collarbone and your ribs on either side of your sternum. You can tap there and say, I just want to escape this pain.
I just want to escape this pain.
And then tap on your underarms, like right where your bra strap would be.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get as far away from it as possible.
I want to get as far away from it as possible.
And then under, like right where, for women, where your bra strap is, right on your ribs, underneath your breasts. And I don't understand what the source of this pain is.
And I don't understand what the source of this pain is.
And then you can tap your wrists together and say, maybe there is an emotional source to it.
Maybe there is an emotional source to it.
And go up on top of your head and say, I'd like to be open and willing to uncover what that is.
I'd like to be open and willing to uncover what that is.
So you can just continue going around and around on those tapping points and just, like I said before, honoring and acknowledging all of your feelings around it. It can be a stream of consciousness, or you can just say this intense pain over and over and over again. Either way, the more calm you're going to feel around the pain, the more grounded you're going to feel around it. And you might just have some thoughts perk up about what the source of the pain could be on an emotional level. And then you just start chasing those thoughts with your stream of consciousness. And just, again, honoring and acknowledging the entire time, saying, it's no wonder I have this pain. I had this issue come up recently, and it brought up a lot of fear for me. And now my body is responding and telling me that I'm out of alignment somehow. No wonder I have this pain. It makes perfect sense that I'm having this pain. And I want to honor that at the deepest level. And I want to feel safe enough to let it go. So you just keep going over and over until you start feeling some relief.
Yeah, I think it's being able to say it's no wonder and finding some causality and voicing that.
Yeah.
Especially when your tapping coach says it first, it's really powerful to say, hey, I can say that. I can say it, it's no wonder this is connected. But I do want to say that I have trouble sleeping. I have a lot of trouble falling asleep at night. And I think I had been working with you, Amy, for several months, and you've had this app out the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out that there is a section for sleep. And I have been doing it, and I have not had to take any other sleep aids at night the entire time doing it, which is great because it's so nice not to be any more groggy in the morning than I am. It's hard. You lie on your back and you're tapping and you're falling asleep and you're saying something. And so it's like, it's excruciating at times. I'm like, I can't pick my arms up to pat my eyes. Like, I'm just so tired. But that's sort of how you fade into sleep. You're just a little, it becomes too much and then your body just relaxes.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled that tapping script has worked for you. Makes me really happy. I just want to encourage people to go try it out. It's over 160 on there that you can choose from, along with videos about how to work through things like anxiety or depression. You can work through procrastination or insomnia or any of those things. Weight loss, addiction. There's lots of options to choose from. It's called Soar with Tapping, just so that people know what to look for. There's a couple of different tapping apps out there, and I really tried to fill a gap. I saw that there was something missing in what was out there, and that was really trying to get to the heart of the issue for people and the root and get down to the root cause. So the tapping scripts that I created go a lot deeper than the other ones that you'll probably find out there. And hopefully that will help you faster and on a deeper level.
Yeah, it's actually really interesting with falling asleep. It's actually like I have so much anxiety about falling asleep. Oh my God, there's 1 hour left. And you're tapping on these anxiety statements. And so it's kind of counterintuitive. Addressing that anxiety is putting you to sleep versus what we think is relaxing and calming.
I think that's the most counterintuitive thing about tapping. People often ask why you focus on the negative. Whatever you resist persists. And so when you lean into whatever negative emotions you're experiencing, whether it's sadness or anxiety or intense anger or overwhelm or whatever, when you lean into it, when you allow yourself to feel those things and you honor it and acknowledge it with your words, that's when you're able to release it. It's when you push it away and you pretend that it's not there, that it builds. And then it builds into something that causes pains in your body. And then, you're starting to cope by doing some other activity that you don't want to do. So there is real benefit in honoring those feelings and allowing them as much as possible. And that's really what the heart of tapping is. It's honoring and acknowledging those tough feelings that we've been taught all along not to deal with.
Amy, thank you so much for coming on the show.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
Please consider this podcast as a work of advocacy, getting important stories to those that need them. As we gather ideas how to keep the show running financially, please do engage with the podcast wherever you find it. Offer up some stars and some likes. You can visit us at bipolarshe.com or at bipolarshe pod on Instagram. And thank you, as always, for your support.